Hey guys, it's Nick the Booksmith. Welcome back, welcome back. Today I have a little craft with me project, and I worked on these and got most of them ready quite a while ago, but wasn't able to show you much yet. So I'm taking the time today to show you these little notebooks that I've created the covers for. You may be familiar with Penguin books. They've been around since the 40s, and they have all kinds of classics and all kinds of reading material bound in this iconic bold stripe book cover, a paperback book cover. Most of them are paperback. So I created something that was similar in look to the old ones, not the newer ones, but definitely the old ones. And I created the color block kind of design, but these are Booksmith books with little owls. They're not penguins. And I've created several, and they're definitely sarcastic humor, like this one. And then here is the back. Here is the explanation of the notebook. And I thought they were adorable. I thought they were adorable. So I have 4 different versions here, 4 different books at the moment. And there are more, but 4 right here. And I had printed these out onto a presentation kind of brochure cardstock. I would say cardstock, but it's not quite cardstock thickness, I think. I'll put the link in the description box below to what I printed on. It's just fairly thick. You can also print on like matte photo paper, as long as it's not too heavy, because you want it to be able to bend. So this one actually is a little thinner. This one's thinner than this one. This one is the 80-pound Hammermill digital color copy, and this one is the 60-pound. And then these were the other 2 colors that were printed. They are rather worn, as if the notebook had been around for quite a while. So this is my book. Definitely. The neighbor said hi again. I'm just gonna move. I thought we would make some notebooks today. And then this one is a quote from Ron from Parks and Rec. If you've ever seen Parks and Rec, it's a sitcom. Pay your bills, don't do meth, eat bacon. That was his rules on being an adult. And then of course I added on to the back, you really need to know how to do your taxes and why you should never go to an IKEA on a Saturday afternoon before the fall college semester begins. If you've ever been there, if you've ever done that, ever made that horrific, regretful mistake, you know why you do not show up at IKEA on a day like that. So anyway, let's make some notebooks. At least let's do one. I'll choose here in a minute. They're the same size, so it doesn't matter. So what I need to do is you take a regular sheet of copy paper, and this happens to be the US 8.5 by 11. You can still do this with the UK size, which is a little bit wider than 8.25 by 11.5. You can still cut it down to the same size, because what you want to do is you need to cut 2 pieces out of one here, and they need to be 5.5 inches tall and 7 inches wide. So you can get 2 out of 1 sheet of paper, and you need 20 of these. So only 10 sheets of paper, which that's not bad. And this here, I folded them in half, and they get folded in half so that the 7 inches becomes 3.5, because the notebooks are approximately 3.5 by 5.5. Now this is not the standard size of the classic Penguin books. The classic Penguin books were 5 by 7 3/4, 129 by 198 millimeters. Each notebook will come in both sizes. So there will be an image to make the small notebook, and then there will be the same image, but it will be sized in case you wanted to make the larger notebook. And of course the larger notebook would have a piece of paper. Let me grab it again. You only get one out of one sheet of paper because it would be approximately 7 3/4 tall by 10 inches wide, and then those get folded in half. Okay? So there's going to be no sewing involved. I'm not going to do the cover just yet. We're going to set that aside. I'm not going to worry about that. Each of the notebook cover image kits will also come with the options of having lined paper if you wanted to print lines on your paper before you cut them down and fold them. Also, there will be a title page and then a back page too. You can decide if you want to do that or not. When you cut your papers for the first time to the 5.5 by 7, fold one in half and hold it up against your cover and make sure that it is the same height, and also make sure that it will sit back to the spine without sticking out. It will stick out a little bit further with all the others than it does by itself, but you just want it to fit inside the cover dimensions on the inside. So we have 20 papers. You might be able to get away with 22, maybe, as long as your creases are nice and sharp. I say make one, see what you get. So here are 18 that are folded up. And then this is a sheet of the title page and the end paper that I have basically just sliced it in half. What I do is I don't cut them down to 7 inches yet. I fold it in half first and crease it down. And then what I do is I cut this to half of 7, which is 3.5. And then that should end up as your title page. And that will go on the very top of your stack of papers. And then this one can go in the back. So I'm going to fold it and cut it down to 3.5 this way. And then this will be the back page. So it will go on the very back of the stack. So here are all 20 sheets. Make sure that those folds are creased down very well before we glue all these together and make a text block. I have some of these pages backwards. Don't do that. Once you've folded them, is this the only one that's backwards? Make sure all the folds are on the same side. And I used a bone folder and really creased in that fold. Those are some pretty tight folds. So that's what you want. You want tight, creased folds. No kidding around, man. No kidding around. So this book, since it has 20 pages that are folded, that means there are 40 leaves and then 80 sides. Except 2 of the sides, the one that's, whatever one that's in the front and then whatever one is in the back will become attached to the inside of the cover to become like end sheets. So actually a little less than that. More like 78. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've stacked them all together with the folded sides up. I'm going to take just a couple pieces of, this is from a notebook, and I'm just going to put these 2 pieces of card on either side just to hold them together. And take a couple of clamps, and I'm going to clamp these on either side, but up near the top of that card. Not at the bottom, but up near the top. If you have a vise, which I do, but it's behind me. So if you have a vise, this is a perfect opportunity to use the vise. Let me tell you, this is a little lid from a Pringles tube. This is actually padding adhesive, which is made for notebooks, but you can use PVA. So you can just use white glue. It's gonna be all right. We're gonna do kind of a perfect binding, but it's with the folded pages, not with just the singles. You can do it with the singles. It's just the folded are a little bit more stable because there's more area grip to the back. I just find that it works out better. So what I like to do is I pick it up with one hand, and with a thumb, I press all those papers to one side, kind of fan them this way. And I just put my thumb in the middle, and I take a paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint some of this adhesive onto these folded edges that I have bent in one direction. You're gonna get glue on you, so wear gloves if you want to. And you don't have to do this with my notebook covers. You can do this whole procedure with any kind of cardstock, like designer printed cardstock, Seven Gypsies or Tim Holtz or any of those. You can do this with the same thing. It's just they won't have cute sayings on them like mine do. Okay, don't glop it on. I just paint it on and then I smooth it out, but it's not gloppy. Then I'm gonna let it go and I'm gonna turn it around, wipe my thumb off. Yes, I just wiped those on my pants. It's okay. They're dirty anyway. And now I bend it back in the opposite direction, but just a little bit. We're just barely curving it so that they kind of fan out a little bit. And this is the double fan, sounds obvious, right? For perfect binding. And what it does is it gets more adhesive in between those leaves, those folded leaves. And it's okay if you have a thumbprint on one of them. It's gonna be all right. Okay, now let me wipe my hands off again, but not on my pants. I have a shop rag here that I keep around and I throw it in the washing machine. Ugh. Won't wipe it on my pants anymore, Mom, if she's watching this. Hi, Mom. Okay, so now what we gotta do is I'm gonna take the clamps off and I'm gonna slide these little cards up toward the top. But try not to put them where you've put a whole bunch of glue. And then I'm gonna clamp this up toward the top. Because we just wanna squeeze this all together because we fanned all those papers out and it kind of spread out the spine, and now I want to snug that back up again. Our spine on the notebooks is a 1/4 inch. That's basically what I'm aiming for. And if you use just regular 20-pound copy paper, I found that 20 sheets folded in half are a 1/4 inch if you glue them and then squeeze them together. And it doesn't take too long for them to dry. Just for extra measure, this is why a vise is really lovely in this instance, because then you don't have to go find something to hold this upright. So what I'm gonna do just for extra measure is I'm gonna take some of this cheesecloth and I'm just gonna take a little stretch of it, a little more than 1/2 inch, so 3/4, and it doesn't have to be straight. That's what I keep telling myself. It doesn't have to be straight, Nick. Just chill out, man, just chill out. I find that the longer this social distancing thing goes on, that my social graces and my normal filter for what you say or don't say or things you talk about or things you don't talk about in front of other people on a normal basis are slowly fading away. My little quirks are definitely quirkier than normal. I apologize for that. I apologize. So I'm just going to barely brush on, make sure that this is still damp. And I'm just going to lay this piece of cheesecloth, kind of center it onto this spine that we've just glued together. It doesn't have to go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom, just most of the way, I would say. And then what this does is it creates a little bit of a structure for that glue to adhere to on both sides. The padding adhesive is this stuff is more rubbery. I'm gonna put this in the water, sorry. It's more rubbery than regular PVA. So it creates a stretchier bond. And that's a technical term, stretchy bond. Just making sure that that cheesecloth is all sunk down in there nice and firmly. And while this is drying, I will move on to the, set that over there, to the cover, and I'll show you what I do extra special for the cover. And this is not, you don't have to do this. You know how paperback books, it does not take long after opening and closing them for the spine, the little bendy spine areas, to the paper to start to flake and wear off. I mean, how many paperback books have we had? And before you even get halfway through it, these edges along where it bends, they're gonna start flaking, which is fine. Some people love that, but if you're gonna be giving this to somebody or you want it to last a little bit longer, this is what I suggest you do. So I'm gonna just take my scoreboard, and this is just one of my little embossing tool thingies. This is We Are Memory Keepers, one of their sets. I love these. I think they do better on the scoreboard than even a bone folder. So like I said, the spine is gonna be 1/4 inch. And so what I do is I line it up because, let me show you. Can you see how on either side of the spine, how there's gonna be like a dark line that goes up? Well, those are gonna be your scoring areas. Those little demarcations that go all the way up and then all the way down. So it should be fairly obvious. And I just line these up on my scoreboard. You should be able to line them up and score one side. And then make sure it's lined up with the quarter inch away, and score down that one too. And then that gives it a little bit, you're already training it to bend. And then I take some of my clear address labels, and these are full sheets. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So I take one of these and I cut it in half because we're going to be covering the book cover with this label paper. And this is great because it will help the cover to live a lot longer. And if you make the little notebooks, you should get 2 out of every one. But don't cut it on the sides. Leave the sides long. What I'm gonna do is, this has a little split down the back so you can peel it off. But I only peel off one side at a time. So after I take off one side, I lay that tape down so that the sticky is up, but only half of that piece is sticky. And I take my cover and I'm gonna put the printed side to the sticky side, but I only take off half of it because I use this side as a gauge to help me line everything up. So I know where the center is because that's the center where that other backing paper was. And I line up one edge here on this backing paper. And I somewhat center it from side to side, but I just roll down real carefully that edge, just like that. And then I put this back on it and I turn it over and I just use the bone folder and I burnish down all those little air bubbles that inevitably get caught in between the paper and the sticky paper. And if you get a little bubble, just try to work it out, but try to burnish down those bubbles as much as possible, and then that should ensure that you got a good adhesion of the cover to that label paper. And you'll be able to see those little bubbles because they look kind of foggy. And then when you burnish it down, it gets nice and bright because the color comes through better. You just get it nice and work down, and then I just turn it over and peel that off, this little leftover, because it's too long. I press it up against the edge of the cover as snugly as I can, as evenly as I can, and with my fingertips I just very carefully just turn that over and work that edge down just like that. And then take the bone folder and just give that a nice burnish too. Then that way that really protects that edge of the notebook really well. Time for the other side. So I just lift this and I just slowly peel that away, and you can start rolling this side down as you take the backing paper away. Just like that. And stick that back on, turn that over, and give that a good burnish. And you can use the bone folder if you see any later, because some of the images are distressed. So I made the covers look like they were worn. So some of it's not air bubbles, it's because the image has like little white worn marks, like old jeans. And then I'm going to turn this edge over as well. And there we go. Try not to use too thick of cardstock, whether you're just going to make your own notebook out of some designer paper or you're going to print images onto some cardstock. If you use cardstock that is too hefty, too thick, your spine, it will take up more room where you bend and you won't be able to get as many pages in there. And now I'm going to go ahead and fold those where we scored. And now your little cover is protected inside this label paper. Kind of adorable. This should be nearly dry. And I'm going to dry fit it in here real quickly. I'm going to glue down this here in just a second. You can glue it down or you can cut it off, either way. But you just dry fit it. Make sure it's going to fit in there. That is just about perfecto. And because everybody's printer is a little bit different, print out a cover first and then see if paper will fit in it. And then that way you can make your paper a little wider or a little narrower as you need to so that it will fit inside the book. And maybe for some reason your paper is thicker and maybe you can only get 18 pages in there. You know, stuff happens all the time. Stuff happens and there's no reason for it and we can't control it. I'm going to cut these off. I didn't on the others. I took a little bit of glue and I just glued them down, but I'm just going to cut these off. You can do it either way. If there was more pages involved, I would definitely fold it over. If it was going to be a heavier book, you would want that support where it attaches to the cover, but this is just a notebook, so that's not going to be an issue. Okay. So there is that. I'm going to take the bone folder and just run that over and make sure that that glue is nice and smoothed down, because sometimes when you glue on the edge, it swells those fibers out a little bit. So I'm just using the bone folder to even that spine edge again. I'm going to show you a cheater pumpkin eater way to get this installed in the cover, and that is going to be with double-sided tape, because you can glue it in. Absolutely, positively, go for it. However, all that moisture, you will have to put your book underneath a very heavy object as it dries. I've already done this side. Because if you don't, it'll just warp on you. So I use this double-sided tape because that does not happen. It is quick, it doesn't have to dry, and I realize not everybody has double-sided tape. It can be expensive. However, I have found some really, really good companies on Amazon. It is very reasonable to buy double-sided tape. I think this is the 3/8 inch tape. And it lasts a long time because it's not like I use it on everything, but man, and it'll save your bacon sometimes. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. Double-sided tape makes the world go round. So to get this installed into the cover, take my glue and I'm going to glue just where the spine is, just where that folds in like that. I don't trust the tape on the spine edge because the glue will penetrate and get in between all the fibers of the cheesecloth and the paper and all that stuff. So I'm going to set that in that spine and fold that around, really snug it in there. And I usually take my bone folder and I hold down the inside and I run the bone folder along that little flat spine there. Really make sure that where the cheesecloth is in the back, that all of that is really, really adhered and seated all the way back against that spine and glued down. And I usually give this a good 5-10 minutes before I finish up, because I don't want that to be pulling away while I'm finishing up attaching everything on the inside. All right, so I've given it about 5 minutes or so, and I'm just going to be careful not to disturb the spine area for just a second. I will put my fingers here and kind of fold this back and take a craft knife to loosen that tape. And I'll peel that back. And you can go ahead and take off all the backing if you want, or if you just want to take off one strip at a time, however it is that you like to do double-sided tape. If you are gluing everything down, then you can glue everything, the spine and the inside, all down at once. Get it, bone folder everything and get it all nice and smooth, and then set it underneath a heavy something or other. And of course the front and the back will be done exactly the same. Backing off that tape. And what I do is I just push my fingers against here and then just roll that cover down, down, down onto that tape backed paper. Then you open it up and you find your bone folder underneath all the stuff on the desk, and just make sure that everything is smoothed down. And there you have your notebook. And I don't use really heavy cardstock to print on because we're adding, or I add, you don't have to, but I like to add that label sticky paper, and then I'm also adhering that first sheet to the inside, so it thickens up the cover anyway, but it makes it a sturdy cover and it makes it feel like a paperback. So there is our little notebook. Give the notebook some time, especially here in the back. Don't open it and fan out the pages until you know that this is dry. You don't want to put any added stress on that glue. You want it to go ahead and adhere and cure, and then that way you won't have your pages falling out. Okay? I hope you like them. They're not going to be everybody's cup of tea for humor because they are sarcastic. Like I said, my social graces are all but gone. Please take that into consideration and don't judge me too harshly for my dark sense of humor that has gotten even darker of late. But anyway, I just think they're adorable, and I think they make great notebooks, whether you put lined paper in them or just the blank paper. Here is one with the title page, and then there will also be some little images from like bookmakers. With each one there will be some little bookmaker stickers that you can add if you would like to. Different kinds of stickers, and you can even put them on the outside if you wish of the cover, or you can put them on the inside. How cute, right? How cute is that? This one I used just some real thin printed paper as the front and back end sheets. So you can do that too. So far I think there's 5 like this one, and then there's gonna be a different set, a more not humorous. They're just gonna be pretty. So I will show those to you too. Maybe I'll stick some pictures in at the end of this video. This video is it'll be edited, but right now it's almost an hour long. I'm gonna edit this down. You guys don't even understand. Usually I whittle stuff down to about 30% of what it is originally. They would just take forever. I'd never get them uploaded. So I will go edit down this hour long thing. These are available in my Etsy store. The covers are available. Like I said, there's a bigger version and a smaller version. I had to order some stuff. I was going to show you a different project, but I ran out of, it's just one of those things. You run out of stuff and then you got to order it, and because of everything that's going on right now, it takes extra time. So please be patient. I'm working on it. It kind of puts monkeys in the works, or wrenches in the monkey works, or works in the wrench work, whatever it is. It's messed up. So it takes longer to get anything done. Delivery people, they're inundated with so much that it just takes longer to get things shipped out and delivered. So I will be back and show you that project really soon. So I'm gonna go get to work on my concept journal, but I will see you all really, really soon in the next video. Bye guys.